request a recording. Okay, so hi everyone, welcome. We are, I should start from the beginning, shouldn't I? Not the end. We're here today to talk about our PhD in counseling psychology here in the School of Education. We're going to provide you guys with some information and hopefully answer all the questions that you have. My name is Alyssa Yesko. My name's not on this slide, but I am the director of the Pathways into Education Center. Our office advises current prospective students on all of the programs in the School of Education. We are a very good place to start with your questions. A lot of times we can answer them. And even when we can't, we're going to point you in the right direction of who can. Dr. Mickey Friedlander may be joining us at some point today. She is the professor in the department and director of doctoral training for this program. And then we also have Dr. Melanie Wilcox here, associate professor. I should have PhD as well on your name, but Dr. Wilcox, do you mind just introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Hi, everyone. And thanks so much for being here. As she said, my name is Dr. Mel Wilcox, and I'm an associate professor in counseling psychology here at UAlbany. This is actually my first year back. I had the privilege of earning my PhD in this program back in 2015. So I know a little bit about it. And I am returning in part because I have the opportunity to take over as director of training for this program starting next year. So right now, Dr. Mickey Friedlander is the director of training for our program. And then I'm working alongside of her this year as I prepare to start in that role next year.
Thank you so much. So we'll just start off talking a little bit about the profession, right? So why train to be a counseling psychologist? We have, I'm sure this is something that you've given a lot of thought to, but as a lot of what draws people to this profession is they want to help others. So it's a helping profession. And as a counselor, as a psychologist, you are able to enrich the lives of others by helping them navigate life situations, by helping them to make great choices. But also with this being a PhD program at a research institution, you're able to contribute knowledge to the field through your research and learn from faculty who do the same. We already have some questions coming through, okay. I'm so sorry. Let me allow Dr. Friedlander to introduce herself because she has arrived. Dr. Friedlander, would you like to say hello and tell us a little bit about your background?
Hi, everyone. I'm really sorry. I only had the student link. I didn't have the link. So anyway, I apologize. So I have been here since 1981. I'm a full professor in the counseling psychology division of the Department of Counseling Psychology. And I am currently the training director for the doctoral program, which means that I manage it in all ways. And Melanie Wilcox, who probably introduced herself already, will be taking over from me next year. So how should we do this, Alyssa? Do you want me to just tell you to move the slides, or should I share my screen?
Oh, I have the presentation up. I was going to go through it, but if you want to go through it, the slides, if you want to chat about each slide, you can just tell me when to switch.
Yeah, I would like to do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's a wonderful career to be a counseling psychologist. Not only are you a member of the helping profession to help other people, but we are a scientist practitioner program. So through your research, you would contribute to knowledge in general and about psychotherapy and counseling. So a big part of our program is social justice, working to social justice in both your research and clinical practice. And you can engage in multiple roles. You don't need to be a therapist. You can be a researcher, a consultant, an instructor, a supervisor. And these can change over the course of your career, depending on your interests and the setting. So a big part of our program is self-awareness, because obviously as a therapist, you have to be pretty aware and of yourself in order to help other people. And so we really focus on helping therapists develop a sense of self-awareness about their cultural identities, about their personality, about how they are with other people, etc. And the professional community of counseling psychologists is a pretty vibrant one. It's not as large as clinical psychology, and that makes it more of a kind of a community feeling. And in this slide, you see it's kind of an old picture from our program. I don't know, maybe from 10 years ago, but you can see that we have a very diverse group of students in our program. So if you want to move along, Melissa. So our program has been continuously accredited by the APA since 1980, and accreditation is really very important. You don't want to go to a non-accredited program because you will not be able to be licensed as a psychologist. Our PhD enables you to be licensed in New York and in probably many other states, but states have different requirements, slightly different requirements. Our training is called Scientist Practitioner. The coursework is developmentally sequenced, so it starts off on the research side with being with your advisor, working on research projects, and eventually moving up through the ranks of developing your own research topic until you do a dissertation. And on the practice side, starting off with a pre-practicum that teaches you interviewing skills and basic counseling skills, and moving right up through field practica out in the community to the year-long internship, which you could do in any of the 50 states. So along the way, you gain skills and knowledge in therapy, in assessment, teaching, like almost all of our students teach undergraduates at some point. You learn about how to supervise other people doing therapy and how to consult with other professionals. So, okay, so it's as I said, the scientist practitioner model. So the idea is that practitioners are informed by science and contribute to science. In contrast, perhaps to the origins of clinical psychology, counseling psychology as a field, theoretically, we focus on people's strengths and on normative human development. It's not to say that counseling psychologists don't work with persistently mentally ill people. They may, but the theoretical backdrop of counseling psychology is more normative, with a heavy emphasis on context, like if the person and the environment, if that's a good fit. Valuing diversity is a huge part of our field. So as a student, you explore issues of individual diversity, such as personality and types of problems, family status, etc., and cultural diversity, so that you can work with a wide range of populations. So we have graduates who are working in forensic psychology and neuropsychology. So the differences between, some people have asked this question, what's the difference between clinical and counseling? So a lot of it has to do with the theory and the philosophy, and some of the courses that you're taught might be different. But actually, when you graduate, you can take any job that a clinical psychologist could take, provided you have the background. So we focus on quality clinical training. It's sequential, and it's comprehensive in terms of practice, but also in terms of research. And students work in a variety of settings, not just our local counseling center, but there's other counseling centers in the area, hospitals, and private practice, other community settings. Okay. So our program is 81 credits, which includes coursework, seminars, practica, and internship, which is the clinical piece, and doing a dissertation. The components are coursework. So there's a professional core in counseling psychology, like about assessment and about therapy and ethics and multicultural diversity. There's 3 required courses in statistics and research design. And then there's the basic psychological foundations, which are true for all AP accredited programs. So you need to take coursework in biological bases of behavior, social, cognitive, developmental, and history and systems of psychology. So in terms of practice, you must have at least 18 credits of practicum experience, but our students tend to have a lot more of that. We have a training clinic in downtown Albany called the Psychological Services Center that's community-based and fee for service. So clients come and pay for fees. And then, as I said, there's many different settings for field placements beyond the first experience at the Psych Services Center. You can work at colleges and universities, hospitals, etc. All of students in an AP accredited program need to go through a year or 2,000 hours of professional internship. And our students have gone in, I don't know how many states, I'd have to count it, but people have gone just about everywhere to do their internship or stayed locally. Students have to do some professional development and scholarly scientific work throughout their time here. Teaching, as I said, undergraduates, doing research, giving presentations at conferences. So after the third year, typically people take a doctoral qualifying examination, which is kind of like putting it all together to see whether you're ready to do a dissertation and to go on internship. And so that is a requirement. It's very integrative, both on the practice side and the research side. Like every doctoral program here at the university, you must do a research tool, which is something that is typically a course, an elective course related to qualitative research or statistics, but something that will help you with your dissertation. There's 2 milestones that students in our program need to complete. You have to do a conference presentation that you're the first author of, either regionally or nationally, and you need to submit an article for publication. It does not have to be accepted, but it needs to be submitted, and a lot of people do that. So it seems like some people do that along the way. Some people wait and submit their dissertations for publication. And then, of course, the dissertation is original research. Okay. Why our program? So several times when people have been trying to look at the most highly ranked program, we've come out as, since the 1980s, is one of the top 5 counseling psychology programs in the country. And it's really a gem within the University at Albany. Our faculty are internationally recognized. Our students, once we admit you, there's a high rate of completion. About 96% of our students get licensed as a psychologist across many states. The 4% who don't, you know, occasionally there's somebody who changes fields altogether, like one person became a software engineer, but the majority of people get licensed and pass the licensure exam, which you have to take in order to be licensed. We rarely have students drop out of the program or fail out of the program. It's like 1% or 2%. We put a lot of effort into our students to make sure they're successful. Most students are funded for 4 years, although it being the state, you know, if you come in with a master's degree, you may only have 3 years of funding, but we help you try to find some funding for the 4th year. And then in the 5th year, you go on internship. So as I said before, our graduates work in all kinds of settings, clinical, academics, they become professors, not necessarily in a PhD program, but maybe in an undergraduate program or a master's program. They teach, they work in college counseling centers, medical schools, VA hospitals, or private practice. And there is the possibility of transferring credits if your coursework is at the graduate level and if you took it after you completed your undergraduate degree. We can transfer in some credits, but they have to be, the coursework has to be similar to ours. We don't want you to have to duplicate anything, but it must be similar enough in content. Okay. Some more reasons. There's a lot of collaboration between students and faculty. The faculty are mentors, helping you with research articles, going to conferences together, presenting together. Strong focus on social justice and advocacy with vulnerable populations. There's a wide latitude for you to conduct research in many different areas of psychology. You know, usually you can find somebody to help you out with something that's not primarily in their area. So as I said before, we have a large variety of clinical settings. A lot of programs, the students only get their practice experience in a college counseling center, but our students go to hospitals and private practice and other places. We always seem to beat the yearly statistics for students who get their first or second choice of an internship. So our students are really well prepared, and we have a reputation of turning out really great students. So our students are tend to get their top choices of their internships. It's a ranking kind of thing, kind of like medical school. You interview and then you turn in your ranks, and a computer figures out where you're going to go based on the internship ranking of you. So we have a diversity conference. As I said, we're big into social justice. So every year we have a diversity conference that is student run. So students decide on the focus and on the speakers. They plan the meals, they get the funding, and all classes are canceled on that day, and we all attend the diversity conference. If you come in right from the your bachelor's degree, you have the opportunity to get a master's along the way. This doesn't lead to licensure as a mental health counselor, but it does help you get a job in a place that requires a master's degree. But you can't really work in private practice with that master's degree. It's optional. Basically, you have to write a lengthy paper about one of your clients and present it to a committee after you've completed the coursework. We also have a health disparities certificate, which is optional. It's 12 credits. 3 of those credits you have to take anyway, which is a course on multicultural counseling. And then the other credits are in the schools of social welfare and public health. So it has to do with leadership and community involvement. And a number of our students have opted to do this to give them a specialization in social justice and health disparities. And we do have an exchange program in family therapy at a Spanish university. So if you're really interested in family therapy and you speak some Spanish, you don't have to be fluent, but enough to understand, because a lot of people in this city don't speak English. You can go over there for a month, 6 weeks, 6 months, a year, and learn family therapy from a master. Okay, next one. We try to be extremely supportive to our students and to encourage our fellow students to be supportive with one another, to collaborate with one another. We really downplay competitiveness among our students. Faculty are active researchers, national leaders, and many of us actually practice as psychologists. So the advisors are a mentor that helps you go through the program, assist you in selecting courses and developing your research ideas, introducing you at conferences to other scholars in the field, and helping you pursue your individual interests. And of course, giving you advice about your own career path. Students are very cohesive. They are welcoming and included. For example, all new students get a buddy who helps them adjust to coming to the program and moving to Albany if they're not local, and really to essentially be a friend that you can rely on when you first get here. And there's many support services throughout the university. There's free counseling at the counseling center. There's help for people who have disabilities, and all kinds of support services that are available, financial aid, etc. Okay. So this is I just created a list of where some of our graduates have worked over the years. You can see some in counseling centers like at Harvard and Lehigh. We had somebody worked in the sheriff's department in LA, VA hospitals, Mount Sinai in New York, the National Trauma Center in Honolulu, the New York State Psychiatric Center, University of Florida, Yale School of Medicine, University of Rochester, and right here at Albany Medical College. And those are the practice locations, but we do have quite a number of graduates like Melanie who go into academia. Okay, so everyone enters the program in the fall semester. You can't enter in the spring or the summer. The deadline for applying is December 1st. And you'll be considered for a departmental assistantship, which is about $20,000 for 9 months. It also gives you full tuition and health insurance. Applications, we need transcripts from all the schools that you applied. Minimum of 3 letters of recommendation, preferably from faculty or research supervisors. You don't want to get letters of recommendation from friends or family members. You need to be professionals. Write a statement of goals and mention which faculty members you like to prefer to work with, your interests. You need to provide a resume or a CV. And if you were not a psychology major, that doesn't matter. You just need 18 credits of undergraduate psychology, including a 3-credit course in basic statistics, which could be like in a math department. And you need to take either abnormal psychology or personality. And a number of people who've already graduated and want to change careers, you do need to take these 18 credits because you can't do graduate level psychology if you don't have a foundation in undergraduate. So we're not asking you to have a 36 credit major, but you do have to have the 18 credits. Okie doke. Next one. Transcripts. If you've already been here at the University of Albany, you don't, like as a master's student or undergrad, you don't need to request a transcript. You don't need to pay for this. We consider your GPA from every institution, even if you did community college or you did 6 credits somewhere. You can upload an unofficial transcript, but if you're admitted, we need the official transcript to, sort of finalize admissions. And they can be mailed to the graduate school or emailed. And if you look on the graduate school website, you'll see exactly how you need to get your transcripts to us when you apply. Letters of recommendation, we have an online application portal, and your recommenders submit their letters directly through the portal. We recommend that the letters be specific to the program you're applying to wherever possible, so that if you're interested in both the master's program and the doctoral program, that's okay. If you want to apply to the doctoral program and then be considered for the master's program, if you're not admitted to the doctoral program, there's a way to indicate that you'd like to be considered for the master's program. Letters of recommendation from professors could be helpful because we want to know if you can really do graduate level work, if you have academic capabilities and have been successful. But give your recommenders plenty of notice, as well as a hard deadline ahead of the application due date. So application needs to be in by December 1st, but that doesn't mean that all your recommendations have to be there or your transcripts. However, by the middle of December, we're already deciding who to interview. So if you haven't gotten your references in or your transcripts in, by then we might not consider you. But the actual application with your personal statement and all the details about yourself needs to be in by December 1st. Statement of goals. So for us, determine your fit for the program, what you can offer, and evaluate. So we're looking to see whether or not you have a good fit with the faculty here. And we also look at your writing skills. For you, you can highlight your background, your interests, your skills, your career goals. Indicate which faculty member you would prefer as a mentor. You can see an abbreviated list of recent publications on our website under each faculty member, and I will tell you which ones are taking them for next year. That's Melanie Wilcox, Dolores Cimini, that's Cimini. Klaus Cavalieri, Cavalhieri, and Hongbin Xu. The last name is Xu, Sheu. Dolores Cimini, I mentioned that. So be purposeful and to the point. Really read our website very carefully. There are some online resources that people can use for a statement of goals. We don't want an autobiography like I was born in a family of 4 and blah, blah, blah. We really want to know what you've done that's counseling like and research like, and what you would like to pursue if you were to come here. What interests you have, and what specific research ideas do you have, or what research experiences you've had, and where you see yourself long-term. Do you see yourself working in a hospital, a counseling center, in academia, in private practice? Where do you see yourself? Because we're really looking for the fit between you and us. And you might consider the career center in your previous institution. Certainly we have one here if you're an alum. So here's some frequently asked questions, and then I'll take questions from you. But how long does it take? The average rate is 5.5 to 6 years. However, we are really, Alyssa, we really have changed this, and we want students to graduate in 5 years. But all the factors have to do with whether you have some previous graduate work that can be transferred in. And a lot of it is time management, your motivation, your persistence, how long it takes you to complete a dissertation. And that's why we're really looking for people that know what research is and have done some research. It's very hard to be competitive in this program if you've never done any research with faculty, because we don't want you to do career exploration. We want you to know that you really enjoy doing research, because if you don't, you wouldn't be happy in our program. Next question. Part-time, no. Full-time study, not in the summer though. There is no tuition assistance in the summer, so typically our doctoral students do not take courses in the summer, although after the 3rd or 4th year, they often do some practice in the community, some clinical practice in the summer. A full-time study at least through 3 years, and then when you're working on your dissertation and you may say you want to move to New York or Boston or wherever your home is, you can do that from afar. But basically it's designed for full-time study, not online study. There's courses throughout the day, including evenings. It's a full-time program. Online, Alyssa, this is not correct. There's only one course that's online. And I think what you've got here is for the School of Education in general.
Sure, I can update this slide. I didn't know if students took the only courses within the department or if they sometimes took courses outside of the department. So I said that there can be opportunities for online coursework.
Yeah, there might be an elective course, but all the required courses except for one are in person. Next question. Yes, as I said before, graduate coursework, it has to have been done after the you get an undergraduate degree. You work with your advisor or the director of training to apply for advanced standing, up to 30 credits. But you have to have gotten at least a B in the course, and the content has to be similar to the content of our courses. So you might have taken, for example, a course in, say, human sexuality. Well, we don't require that, so we're not going to give you advanced standing credit for that. Typically, we guaranteed funding for the first year. We'll make you an offer if we admit you for the first year, but We're a state university, so we're beholden to the state budget. Typically, students receive funding for 3 to 4 years. And the funding is a 20-hour-a-week research assistantship in the first year. After that, typically in the second year, you're teaching an undergraduate course. In the third year, there's more opportunities to do clinical work. Okay, so the Office of Financial Aid and Student Accounts, or the graduate school, has information about the assistantship. But if you're made an offer, we will make you an offer of a tuition scholarship as well. If you're out of state, the offer would be for out-of-state tuition for the first year, and then you need to become a New York State resident in order to continue to get tuition funding at the in-state rate. Except if you're an international student, obviously you can't become a New York resident. Okay, so the PI Center, I think Alyssa is the director of that. Pathways into Education, she can answer some questions. Here you have various websites that you can contact. All right.
Yeah, sorry, I just I'm sure many of you have already visited the website, but there's great information on here, including information about the program. And then this sneaky link right here that not everybody always sees, but the graduate bulletin provides a little bit more detailed information about requirements to complete the program if you wanted to learn a little bit more. It just goes into a little bit more detail than the program page. So I always like to point that out. Information on the coursework required. So just a little bit more of a overview of the program that isn't always provided on the
yes, the required courses are there. And if you scroll down, you'll see something that says admission, student admissions and outcome data. Keep on scrolling.
Is that on the program page or on the bulletin?
It's on the program page.
Okay, so I'll go back. This is the bulletin. This is
Okay.
the program page.
Keep on going down. Keep on going.
So this link right here.
Okay, that link here. Every counseling psychology program that's accredited by the American Psychological Association needs to have this admissions data, and unfortunately it's very small, but you can get
you can
it.
visit it. You can visit it later and zoom in and
Yes.
you'll be able to see
Yes.
it.
Yes. So it gives you information in the last 10 years about how long it's taken people, how many people have dropped out, how many people attend internships, obtain internships, how many people get licensed. So this allows applicants to compare across different programs. So any accredited program by the APA will have this page, and you'll be able to compare the statistics. So do you have the list of questions, Alyssa?
I sure do.
I want to make sure that I can answer those.
Sure.
Okay, so I've already told you the professors who will be taking new graduate students. The program's focus we're a generalist program. Students wind up specializing in all kinds of things, working with children, forensics, neuropsychology. Funding opportunities for international students are the same as for domestic students. PhD versus PsyD. So PsyD, typically, we only have a PhD in counseling psychology at the University of Albany. PsyD programs, such as there's one at Springfield College in Massachusetts, there are a few, not as many as PhD programs, and they tend to be more practice focused and less research focused. But of course, you'd have to look at the individual programs to see. Tuition remission and assistantship funding, all, as I said before, everyone gets offered the first year, and we try to offer it for 3 or 4 years. How many people apply? Typically, in recent years, we've had about 90 people apply every year. But on that student admissions page, you'll see exactly how many people have applied in the last don't know, 7 or 8 years. If you haven't had the research background, you need to get it, unless you go to a Psych program. One way to do it is to go into a master's program and volunteer to do some research with a faculty member at the time. So we do take a number of our students from our master's program, which is a separate program, but they volunteer to work with faculty. Faculty get to know them, and that's how they get research background. Personal statement, what to include, your goals, your previous experience, be specific, and which faculty members you're interested in working with. What are the chances of getting in with no previous experience? Very slim chance. We have taken people, but really it's a competitive program. You know, we have about 90 students a year, and we take in 5 or 6. So we take ones, again, we want to know people really know what they're doing with research and like doing it. Is encouraged to contact potential mentors if you like. It's not required. The 5th year of study is the internship. It's paid. So currently, I think the internships are running somewhere between $35,000 and $45,000 a year. It's for 12 years full time. The International Exchange Program, it's not competitive. We have not had anybody do it recently. You need to have some level of Spanish fluency and be at least in the 3rd year of the program, or finish the 3rd year of the program, and have an interest in it. Scholarship opportunities, yes. International students have the same opportunities for scholarships as domestic students. English required, yes. We look at English proficiency from students whose first language is not English, because of course you're going to be doing your studies in English, but even more importantly, you're going to be counseling clients in English, and so you need to be fluent. How much time
student had a sort of a really like individualized question about the English exam requirements. So if that student is here, I recommend that you reach out to the graduate school, because they, the student had a very interesting background where they had some experience in English speaking countries, and the graduate school can sort of let you know whether or not that exam is necessary based on your specific background.
Yes, because I know that we've had students from the Philippines, and from the Philippines, they have their schooling from kindergarten on is in English.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And if you have a degree from an English speaking institution, like in Australia or the UK or here in the United States, so if say you have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree in an English speaking university, you do not need to take the English exam. How much time if I just completed a K-CARE program? There is no, are there part-time options? No. No part-time options for the PhD program. Students, even though ones who come from mental health counseling programs, typically take 5 years to graduate. You can do it in 4 years, but you're taking an overload of courses if you're doing that. So we rarely have students complete in 4 years. And that's partly because we do not accept credits from previous practica or internships. So you have to do the practicum sequence that our students do, which is a minimum of 2 full years. So if there's any questions from anyone there, I feel like I've answered pretty much everything, but we do have some time. So please just raise your hand. Mel, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. A lot of the things that Dr. Friedlander just walked through are going to be pretty consistent across APA accredited counseling psychology and even clinical psychology programs. There's a lot of requirements that we have to make sure that you meet per our accreditation. It's why licensing boards expect you to have an APA accredited program, because it means that there was some sort of assurance about the education you received and also how many clinical hours that we supervised you for, right? So, you know, the limits to what we can transfer in, the limits to, you know, counting your previous clinical hours or not being able to do that, it's those are requirements for our program, but they're also pretty standard across APA accredited programs because that's part of the accreditation requirements.
Any questions? Just raise your hand.
I see
Um,
Carlos.
Carlos,
So,
hello.
question about the personal statement. How long does that have to be, or like what's the format that it has to be?
Most people do 2 to 3 pages, could run a little bit longer, but we don't really want to read 7 or 8 pages. And it would be hard to really let us know who you are and what you've done and what you want to do in a page. So I think usually they run 3, 4 pages.
Is it like double spaced or single spaced or type of font or anything?
I think you, Alyssa, don't you put it into the platform? So I think it would be wind up being single spaced, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Jenny has a question. Do you want to ask it? Just read the chat.
If I can take that question. So the question in the chat was about the last part of the question I think is important regardless. Is my identity actually an advantage or disadvantage to the application? There was a 2023 Supreme Court ruling in the United States that explicitly prohibited considering identity in admissions in higher education across the board. And so as a result, we have to be really clear about the answer to that last part, that identity is not, identity in and of itself is neither an advantage nor a disadvantage in admissions. You know, what specific to that Supreme Court decision, you are allowed to talk about your experience, and we are allowed to consider your experience, you know, and we are a program that values diversity and social justice. And so, you know, we typically love to hear about the perspectives that you're bringing, and the experiences that you've had, personal and professional. And certainly, you know, we consider that in a holistic review of your application, but identity in and of itself is neither an advantage nor a disadvantage.
And there is no question on the application about your race. If you are an international student, it asks you, I believe, what country you're from originally, but race is not considered.
And I don't want to get your name wrong. I apologize. Is it Jiang? I saw that you had your hand up before.
Yes, it's Ren. Thank you. I want to ask about like the application fee waiver for the state university. I saw a web page on that, but then it says that it's only applicable for New York residents and other residents need to apply. So could you talk through a little bit about like how to apply for like application fee waiver for the program?
Just send me an email. And explain your situation, and I'll see what I can do. I'm surprised to hear it's only for New York State residents.
So Dr. Friedlander, the graduate school handles application fee waivers. And so they set the parameters for what, I don't know if there are departmental exceptions, but the graduate school can also answer more questions about like the traditional application fee waivers.
Right.
Their email is just graduate@albany.edu.
Sounds good. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions?
There was a question in the chat about whether if someone chooses to complete a master's first and they have the choice between going the mental health counseling route or a general psychology master's, does one or the other carry more weight into getting accepted into the PhD program, or does it completely depend on research experience and courses? What I was about to note in the chat is that we're limited in the credits that we can accept regardless of what kind of master's that you have. And so that's one thing to consider, but certainly post-master's, I think we would usually consider someone like a post-master's student when they have a more clinically oriented master's. Is that your understanding, Mickey?
Actually not. We've had quite a few students who've come in with a general psych master's. And usually they have good coursework in research methods, statistics, and some of the basic psychology. And so they wind up taking the clinical courses with the students that don't have a master's, but they usually have advanced standing for some of the more psychology basic courses. So no, I really don't think there's a preference, and we don't really give a preference to people that have a master's degree. So it just depends on every year. So this year, in 2024, of our 6 students, we have 4 that came right from undergrad and 2 that came right from master's. But I think the year before it was the other way around. So it's just who we feel is the best fit for our faculty and our interests. So if your interests are really very divergent from us, even though you might have a really great GPA grades and references, it's probably not the program for you guys. You know, so I remember one year we had a person whose all of her interests were in juvenile diabetes. Well, we have nobody that has any knowledge of that. So we didn't accept this person, even though they had excellent credentials. So we're looking for people whose interests fit with ours. Because obviously, if you're going to do a dissertation with a faculty member, you have to have some interest in what they're doing. Anybody else?
Hi, yes, I had a quick question if you don't mind.
Sure.
I was wondering if you would just go over once again the faculty that are accepting students this coming fall or next fall.
I'll put it in the chat, or there's somebody who keeps trying to get in, Alyssa, and I keep admitting that person, but I don't understand why they're not coming in.
They are coming in. It's just they
Oh.
keep getting, for some reason they keep leaving, so I have to keep letting them back in, which I have been.
Okay. All right. So I will, let's see here, everyone, I will give you the names. You can find their information. Oh, you can find their publications and their interests right on our website.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And you can indicate that you're interested in more than one faculty member. Anything else, anybody? Yeah,
Yes.
Carlos.
Is there anything specific that you want to see like on a resume, or just a general resume to show like
It's
different-
better to have a CV than a resume. I mean, we don't want to just see that you worked at X place. We want to know what you did there. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I
You
know a
know,
lot.
if you had any honors or awards, you know, you can put those on there. If you have any research experience, even if you don't have publications, you can put you worked in certain research labs and what you did when you were in the lab.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll quickly add, I know not everybody knows what a CV is because usually it's not something that unless you're doing graduate study becomes relevant. And so whereas a resume, you know, ideally they teach you keep it to a page or 2, right? CV stands for curriculum vitae, which literally means life's work. And so as a result, like literally every single thing that you've done goes on that. You know, I started building mine when I applied for this program back in 2008. Oh my God. And, you know, today, I think I just finally crossed over 40 pages. And so when I say everything, you know, the CV covers everything. Certainly the positions that you've held, the duties that you've had, like Dr. Friedlander said, publications, presentations. Lots of folks in the chat are asking about the research lab stuff. If you were a member of a research lab, that should go on there under a research section. And then what did you do in that lab? Whether that was participate in discussions or help design studies, analyze studies, do literature reviews, things like that. If you did an undergraduate thesis or a master's thesis, that should be on there. And so, you know, this is really the CV is the opportunity to showcase everything that you may have done, student leadership, getting involved with your community. It isn't just like the paid positions that you've held. It's an opportunity to showcase everything that you've done that might touch on some way in psychology and any accolades that you've garnered. And so I put a link in the chat. I didn't vet it. This is a random thing from Indeed.com, but the difference between a CV and a resume.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, I guess it is your curriculum of your life, but I wouldn't suggest that you put in jobs that you had in middle school or high school, unless they were counseling related.
Yeah, that's true. Life's work after high school /
Yes, right. Adults' life work. Any other questions?
I have a quick question about like research experience. How do you quantify enough as like research experience? Like, does that mean having published publications and presentations at conference, or would like volunteer at the research lab and helping with the research that is unpublished and would be good? Like, how would you quantify that in an application? Thank you.
Really quantify that. We look at the quality and what you've done, you know, like typically students have not published or done conferences except with faculty. But you know, if you've done a number of those, that would speak highly to your motivation and your skills. But it depends on the school you've been to and the people that you worked with. But maybe you've been in 2 or 3 different labs. So that speaks to your motivation. So it's not like we count things up, you know. We just look at the overall background, and we're really interested in knowing how interested you are in research. So focus on that in your personal essay. Like, what would you like to study and why?
And one last thing I'd like to note about that, the thing around the research labs is coming up a lot. It's coming up a lot in questions verbally. It's coming up a lot in the chat. And I know that folks are taught like, hey, it's going to be super competitive, specifically on the research front to get into these doctoral programs. So I understand that that brings up a lot of anxiety. Again, counseling psychology is the more social justice focused of the specialties. And, you know, I think that we as a faculty take that really seriously. And it's part of why we struggle to give you concrete answers like, oh yeah, having 5 publications would be ideal. And part of that is because if you went to a more privileged institution, if you come from a more privileged background, those are folks who are more likely to be able to gain the metrics, right? First generation college students from minoritized backgrounds are less likely to be able to have the opportunities to gain the numbers, right? And so we really do take a holistic approach to the things that we consider. And we're not focused on just numbers or metrics or things like that. We want to try to get a sense of you as an applicant and your strengths, and in the context of, of your experience, right? Because not everyone has access to the same experiences.
Look at the whole package. You know, it's not like we look at this and not that. And we look at, and you don't have to have been a psychology major, but you need to have the foundation in psychology. Okay, well, I look forward to reading your applications on December 1st. If you have any further questions, I see Mel put her email in the chat. I will do as well. And it's on the website. And thank you for coming on a Friday afternoon. Look forward to getting to know you better through your application. Take care.
so much, everyone.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.